Hello everyone and welcome to another Super Science video at the Massillon Regional Library. I'm Miss Stephanie, one of the children's librarians, and today I'm going to be telling you guys a little bit more about buoyancy. And for those of you who watched my video last month, I did 2 buoyancy experiments on water. And buoyancy is whether an object is going to float or sink in water or another liquid. And we did experiments with water last month. So for this month, I decided to get a little more advanced and float up to the next level and do 2 more advanced experiments. The first, we're going to make a salt volcano, and it's going to talk, when I'm doing it, it'll show about buoyancy in oil. And then our second experiment is we talked about a little bit about how objects have to be lighter than water in order to float in them. But we think of fish in water, and I was just like, well, why do fish don't sink? Why don't they sink to the bottom? Because they're heavier than water. And the second experiment, we're going to do a demonstration about why they do that, and there's a couple good reasons why. So let's go get it started. Before each experiment, I have a list of items that you'll need from around your house to do them, and I will also point them out in the video about what you'll need as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, everything that you see here is for our salt volcano experiment. I have salt itself, food coloring, a clear plastic jar or a glass jar, whatever you have in your house, 1/4 cup for measuring, and then a regular cup for measuring, and the veggie oil. And of course, the most important thing of all, the water. So we're going to start this experiment by pouring water into the jar, and I'm going to fill it up, not quite all the way, but just far enough so you can get a better idea and see it better. Now, you can't really see the water because it's clear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some food coloring to this jar. That way it'll be a little easier for us to see what's the buoyancy of the oil. So there we go, getting it in there. And while that is settling down, do one more drop. I'm going to go ahead and start by measuring the vegetable oil. And the vegetable oil, we're going to need the 1 cup for that. So I'm going to go ahead and measure that in. Okay, so let's pour it in, and we're going to see what happens. And as the food coloring is settling down, and oil is actually lighter than water, so we're going to see it float on the water. So let me gently pour it in. Okay, just give it a minute. And as you can see, the oil is separating and is on the top of the water because it's lighter. Now, let's see what happens when we pour some salt in there. So you're going to need 1/4 salt for this. And so let me go ahead and pour it. And any kind of table salt will work. Okay, what do you guys think is going to happen? Well, let's see what happens. So I'll pour it in. Oh! Now let's see. Oh, we see some bubbling, and we have a small eruption. It's not quite as big as baking soda and vinegar, but you guys can see I'll move aside so you can see the bubbles that are popping up through here. And that means, like, water and oil don't mix because of the oil being lighter than the water. However, when you sprinkle the salt into the water, the salt sinks to the bottom, but as it sinks, the oil clings to it, and when it reaches the bottom, it will begin to dissolve, and it does that, and the oil will come back up, and that is what happens because oil is less dense than water, and the escape oil from the salt wants to reach the top again, so it just comes back up, and it happened pretty quickly here. Okay, so I cut the lights off just so hopefully you guys can see a little better what happens. As you can see, some of the bubbles are coming out because of the salt, and the oil is clinging to it, and it's coming back to the surface, creating a mini volcanic eruption in the water. Okay, we're going to get started on our shark buoyancy experiment. And what we're going to have here is a few things. I have a list before this, but I'll just show you what we're going to be using. We're going to have a balloon, measuring cup, a funnel, vegetable oil. We're going to have 3 pennies. We're going to need some Scotch tape. We're going to need a container or a pitcher of water. And if you have it on hand, some napkins will be very helpful in case it gets messy. And since I could not get a real shark, I got a coloring picture of a shark. This is a hammerhead shark, and taped him to the toilet paper tube to use for our experiment to show how sharks can stay afloat in water. And the first step we're going to do is we're going to take the toilet paper roll with the shark on it, and we're going to take the pennies on it to show how heavy it can be. So the easiest way to do that is I'm going to get some piece of tape, and I'm going to start on one end, and then I'm going to place 1 penny at a time. And as I put the penny down, I'm going to put the tape over it real quick so it stays. And then I'm going to get the next penny, and I'm going to get it to stay. And sometimes it's going to take a lot of tape for this. Actually, the easiest thing, when I'm thinking about it, I just thought of this now, is if you put the pennies on the tape first, like I'm doing now, and then put the toilet paper tube on top of it, it'll stay better. And then what I'll do, oops, I'm getting a little clumsy today, and then I'll put this right here, and I'll press it down, and then I'm going to tape the edges. I'm going to get some more tape. And then let me do the other side so it'll stay. So we want the pennies to stay in place. Okay, so because it's heavier than the water, our shark is going to sink. And then I'll fish him out to get, so see, the shark is sinking down, down, down because he's so heavy. And I'm going to go get him out real quick. And we're going to do, the reason why sharks can float is because they have a bladder of oil. And oil is lighter than water, so it helps it to rise up to the surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe my hand off first. Then I'm going to take a balloon, take the balloon right here, and I'm going to fill it with the vegetable oil. So I'm going to pour some in the 1/4 cup. And then because it's really hard to put it in there, I got a funnel that I'm going to put over the edge. And I'm going to pour the oil in. Carefully, good. And that helped prevent a mess. And so we'll carefully take the funnel out. And then I'm going to tie the end here. And the balloon is going to act like the bladder. So let me put it tight. There we go. And I'm going to stick it into here. And instead of sinking this time, our shark should float. Let me stick it a little further in. Okay. Okay, there we go. So, let's see what happens now. Oh. I'm pushing it down to just show you even when I push it down some, the shark still floats up. And I don't have it quite in the middle. I had a hard time pushing it in, so it may take a few tries. Or you can put a little less oil in there so it's easier for you to get the balloon in, which is my main problem right now. So I'm trying to pull it. Okay, I've got it more towards the middle. And let me show you what happens now. I'm going to push it down. And it floats back up. because the oil helps the shark less dense than the water, and they move around in order to help keep them floating in the water. Okay, I just wanted to share some books that were related to our experiments about volcanoes and sharks. And what was really cool was I found 2 books in the I Survive series by Lauren Harish that were related to our experience. The first is about the eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980. And when we think of volcanoes, sometimes we think of them like in an island far away. But actually there are volcanoes in the United States too. And the most famous eruption, it only happened about 40 years ago, was in Oregon, Mount St. Helens. So that book tells a survival story, a fictional survival story about someone dealing with that volcanic eruption. And then there was another one, this is I Survived Shark Attacks in 1919, and it was off the coast of New Jersey where there was a great white shark that was attacking swimmers and they weren't sure why. And both of these are historical fiction, which means that although a lot of the events are true, the actual people or the characters aren't, but they're still enjoyable, and there's still information at the back of each of these books that talks about the volcanic eruption and the shark attacks. And the final book that I wanted to discuss today is about sharks and other dangers of the deep. And what I like about this book is sharks can be dangerous animals, but most of the time when they attack people, it's either by mistake or if someone is like bothering where they live. And this book talks about different hints and tips that if you're in the ocean or somewhere where sharks might be, that to keep yourself safe and keep the sharks safe as well. And what the coolest part of this book is, it has great pictures, nice big pictures. It goes through the different parts of the sharks. Like here we have a hammerhead shark, like what was on my toilet paper tube, and the tiger shark. And right down here it has a danger rating about how dangerous this shark is. So it's most likely like how likely it would be for you to be attacked by this animal or how dangerous it is to other people. So the hammerhead gets 2 shark teeth rating, but the tiger shark gets 5 teeth rating because tiger sharks are more known to attack people. And then there are sharks that don't even bother people at all. Like the biggest shark in the world, the whale shark, eats some of the smallest creatures in the world called plankton. And it's a very gentle shark, and even sometimes divers can come up right up to it and touch it. So, and I just really like this book because it just talks about the different types of sharks and just great pictures and all around just a great reading experience. So thank you again for joining me for our science video. I look forward to sharing more experiments with you soon. Have a good day. Bye.